sometimes people will, get a dream where they experience something just amazing, and they want to think that it means something special. But what if what they experience in a dream is based on incidents that they think are correct? The dreamer has a certain perspective about certain things. Let's say they dream about, this, whatever it is. But what if their perspective in the conscious world is incorrect? And so what they dream about, they believe they're a part of it. And this would indicate that the dream is merely a reflection of the person's thoughts. That's not really true. It's just their thoughts manifesting as pictures, as scenery, as people, and nothing more. I'll give you an example. Let's say somebody dreams that, how can I explain this? Because I got a message like this from somebody one time. I'm not going to say their name out of respect, but let's say that this guy had a dream in which he was taken to a place where he saw that there were Indians there, and that there were children and people, and that these children were playing and people were happy and stuff like that. And let's say that there were also some white people there too, from around the same time period of the Wounded Knee Massacre. In this dream, this guy says that he was talking to these people, and he asked these Indians who they were, and he said that they were killed in the Wounded Knee Massacre. And then there were these two white kids playing, so he went and talked to these white kids, and they said, how are you guys here? I said, some Indians killed us, and now we're all here. Then this person said God came to them and told them that this guy that's having this dream was part of a ghost dance movement. And I have to be real respectful here. You don't want to know my first reaction. I won't say what my first reaction was. But for those of you that know me, you know what my first reaction is. Let's talk about this historically, okay? The historical truth of the matter, okay? The truth is, the ghost dance religion was a false religion. It was created by a false medicine man by the name of Jack Wilson. He was educated in the Mormon way. The Mormons were in the Utah area, and where Jack Wilson was, the Mormons were just east of them. And he knew how to read and stuff like that. And so in the Mormon way, they believe that after the second coming of Christ, that the earth will change its condition, that Satan will be bound for 1,000 years, and that this earth is going to be an exalted state, and that all the people who've died are going to come out of the graves, and they're going to be in perfect physical condition. So if they were fat, they're going to come up healthy and thin. If they were born with no hands, they're going to have hands. Do you see what I mean? If they were deaf, they're going to hear. If they were, mentally challenged, they're going to be perfect. There's not going to be any kind of deformity or handicap. Even if they had it, they're going to be born perfect. Even if they lost it, maybe the guy lost his arm in an accident or whatever, he's going to have it back. Everything's going to be perfect. So mothers will be able to raise their children again. However old a person was when they died, when they first come out of the grave in their perfect form, they're going to be that age, okay? But then everybody's going to grow to be only 32 years old. And once they reach 32 years old, their body stops growing. And it stays like that. So they stay in that shape, perfect shape at 32 years of age. Okay? So if a person is old, they come out from the grave, they have a perfect body, yeah, but they're old, they age backwards until they reach 32. Everybody who's younger than 32, they continue to age forwards until they reach 32. Those that are still alive, the same thing is going to happen to them. If they have no hands, slowly their hands are going to form. And they're going to live to reach 32, and then it stops. They don't die, they just stop aging. But they're alive. They still move and jump and talk and eat and whatever. And same thing for people who are alive at that time. If they're old people, they're going to age backwards, and their bodies are going to get everything that they didn't have before. So by the time this 1,000 years is over, everybody's going to be basically 32 years old. So you're going to look the same as your great, 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 great grandfather if you're a man. Do you see what I mean? You're all going to look the same age. So generation after generation is going to be there. My question is, how is the earth going to support all these people? Because we're talking about since the beginning of time on this planet. That's the first fault I see with it. Yeah, that's the first fault I have. That's why I don't believe that. But I'm just saying that's the Mormon doctrine. Okay, I mean that's part of their doctrine. So this Jack Wilson, he learned that, and then he took that concept and used it. See, around the same time, the Indians in the South were using this peyote. It's a hallucinogen. They're using that because they hallucinate. And so what Jack Wilson did was he used that peyote because it's colorless. You might drink water. You might think you're drinking water, but you might be drinking peyote tea. Next thing you know, you're hallucinating. And the hallucination responds by power of suggestion. So what Jack Wilson said was that if you follow his religion, he made this ghost dance, and he said if you do this ghost dance religion, he said all the white people will go away. That right there is racist, and that violates the concept of mitakwe oyasi. So that's a big problem I have with this. That to me is already telling me this is a false religion. And the next thing it says is that all the buffalo will come back, and everybody who was killed by white people are going to come back to life. So see, it's making white people look bad. So it's a response to oppression, and that's still duality. Oppression is duality, as I said earlier. If you respond to it in the same way, it's still duality, which makes it unhealthy, which makes it false. So this is why the ghost dance religion is false, because it violates the concept that, the sun shines on all of us, not just Indians. And not all Indians are good, and not all white people are bad. It's how you live your life. So it's a false religion, period. And so he said that if you do this ghost dance, he said you'll see your ancestors. And so he said he saw his grandfathers. They were all sitting in a teepee, 6 generations, and they all looked the same age. They were all young men, just like me, he said. And the teepee, there was a rainbow over it, and so he's really using interesting symbolisms here that come from different ideas. Rainbow is a symbol of renewal. It's a rejuvenation. It's life. And so he's using that. It's that, the only way to really live is to follow the ghost dance religion. This is starting in the 1880s. So people were coming to see him, and so he would have them drink water, and they didn't know that had peyote tea in it. It's a drug. It's hallucinogen. And then as they were drinking that, he had water in his hat, and he said, "Look in my hat." And he said, "There's a rainbow in there. And see, once this takes effect, you start to hallucinate." And he's going to use the power of suggestion. And so then whatever he says, that's what they see. So it's not real. It's all a hallucination. And not everybody saw it, which means not everybody had a weak mind. So most people did not follow this way. This is not a Lakota thing. This is not a Lakota ceremony. This ghost dance religion is not a Lakota ceremony. It violates Lakota concepts. Mitakwe oyase, ikche oyate, wawokie. It's a generosity, and it violates all these things. To say that all white people are bad, that violates wahwala, woksape. All these Lakota virtues, it violates all of them. Respect, everything. In Lakota, you respect everybody. That doesn't mean you agree. People mix up respect and honor all the time. Honor and respect are not the same thing, and they do not go hand in hand. Honor is something you earn. Respect is given. As long as you don't force your ideas down each other's throats, you can respect each other and agree to disagree and walk away and still be in peace. That's respect. We all have the right to say whatever we want. If somebody don't like it, that's their problem. As long as you don't try to force each other to agree, then we can still agree to disagree and walk away. Let it be. That is respect. So this ghost dance religion, it violates that. Because it's saying all white people are bad. It says the white people will go away. That's the first sign that that's wrong. Because not all white people are bad. Not all Indians are good. Just because you're an Indian, that doesn't mean jack shit. That's how you live your life. And if you're Indian and you're really proud of it, do you speak your language? Are you doing anything to learn your language? I ask that to all you Indians out there who can't speak your language. Are you doing anything to learn how to speak your language? If you're not, then you're dishonoring your ancestors. Simple. Simply said. There's no excuse today. You cannot be blaming churches and governments and things like that, because now the opportunity is there. It's up to you to take it. Most Indians, they start and they give up because it's too hard. Their own language. They say it's too hard. That's half the problem. The other half of the problem is the teachers don't know how to teach. That's the other half. So anyway, this ghost dance religion, it is a false religion. It is created by a man, and it's a cult. It's not real, and it revolves around a drug, a hallucinogen. The only people that went for that think all the world's problems were because of white people. Do you think there were no problems when there was no white people in North America? Why were Indian tribes going to war with each other? Yes, there were problems. We always have problems. Problems are a part of life. It's what we do with them. So you can't say that everything was nice, because it wasn't. We were at war with each other all the time, constantly. That is not peace. And that is problematic. That shows you we had problems even before white people came. We didn't all get along with each other. So this was done at a hard time in American Indian history, because people are being forced on reservations. Poverty is everywhere for Indians. It's against the law to speak our language. It's against the law to do our ceremonies back in those times. So it's really hard. And it's a dire straits times for our Indian people. And so this guy, Jack Wilson, he started calling himself Wovoka. He started calling himself a prophet. He's trying to make himself into the Indian Jesus. Where does he get that idea from? A dualistic religion called Mormonism, which is just another Christian church. Even though the Christians don't like them, it's still a Christian church too. A lot of Christian churches don't like each other. Everybody's trying to say they're the right religion. It's all focusing on the exterior, and that's not important. And that's what this ghost dance religion does too. It focuses on the exterior. It does not focus on the interior, which is the important part of you, where your sacred center is. So when it got to South Dakota, not everybody joined it. Just a handful of people did. Some people thought that Indians were getting ready to unite for one last war. That's what the cavalry thought. So the ghost dance religion had some followers among Sitting Bull's people, but he didn't do it. But some of his people did. They told Sitting Bull to stop those people from ghost dancing because they thought they were getting ready to go to war. Sitting Bull said he has no control over them. They do what they want. They don't listen to him anymore. So they assassinated him. So his own people, the Indian police, assassinated him. Because in those days, they didn't recognize chiefs anymore. And the American government created this Indian police, and they gave the troublemaker Indians power over the traditionals. That's why they would harass Sitting Bull and things like that. And they're the ones who assassinated him. Indians against Indians. See that? Not all Indians are the same. That should tell you something right there. You had good Indians and bad Indians fighting against each other. Not all Indians are the same. So then his followers who practiced the ghost dance religion, they got scared. They went towards Cheyenne River, Sioux Reservation, which is where I'm from. They met some ghost dance people from there. At that time, Red Cloud had his nose so far up American butt. And this guy was kissing American ass, his brown nosing to the max. Tried to sell the Black Hills behind all other Lakota people's backs. He wanted to keep all the money to himself and his family. And the president of the United States at that time said, nope, you have to tell the other tribes. And he knew that if he did that, it would be known that, he's a traitor. So he didn't say anything. So the ghost dance people knew that the American government will listen to Red Cloud. So that's why they went there. They wanted to tell Red Cloud to tell the government, we're not trying to go to war. And they didn't make it. They were stopped by the 7th Cavalry and massacred. Wounded Knee Creek in South Dakota. That's all because of the ghost dance religion. If they didn't do that ghost dance religion, that massacre never would have happened. So after that, this Wovoka shut the hell up. All of a sudden he was quiet because he knew he was the one to blame. That was his idea they were following. These were Indians that were starving. These were Indians that were hurting emotionally. These were Indians that were in a very weak condition. They were weak-minded, and Wovoka took advantage of them by telling them exactly what they wanted to hear. If you do my ghost dance religion, then the white people will go away. So he's telling them exactly what they want to hear. That's what false prophets do. This is not a good thing. This ghost dance religion is not a good thing. And it's not even Lakota, for one thing. That's the history of it. To show you how evil Wovoka is, when he was saying he was a prophet, people didn't believe him at first. But there was going to be a solar eclipse coming. It was in the newspaper, and he read about it because he could read. Like I said, he knew Mormon doctrine. So he told the people to prove that he's a prophet, he's going to make the sun disappear on the next day. They didn't believe him. So he went up the time when it was supposed to start. And then he told the people, okay, now I'm going to make the sun disappear because you don't believe me. And then the lunar eclipse started. So people started to scream, and they've seen these things before, but this guy's predicting it. I mean, he's saying it's going to happen right now. So they thought he was a prophet of God. Because remember, they're becoming Christian as well. So then they say, bring it back, bring the sun back. And he says, okay, as long as you follow my religion, I'll bring the sun back, he said. So he says, yeah, we'll do your ceremony, we'll do your ceremony. Then he starts saying, some words for the sun to come back, and then the moon passes by, and then the sun's back, and they think he caused all of that. And all that time, that was supposed to happen. That was in the newspaper, but most Indians didn't know how to read back then. He tricked his own people. He deceived his own people. See, even within the same tribe, you have good people and bad people taking advantage of one another. That's the nature of Wovoka. This is not a good man. This is a false prophet. And his ghost dance religion was a false religion that resulted in the Wounded Knee Massacre. And after that happened, that stopped. Some people still try to do it, but that's the stupid people, because they don't realize that that's a racist ceremony. That is a racist ceremony, because it says all the white people will go away. That violates all native concepts that are ancient. So at this guy's dream, see, he didn't know that. He didn't know the true nature of Wovoka, that he wanted to deceive others and set himself up as a prophet. He wanted all Indians in America to see him as an Indian Jesus, an Indian Messiah. He's a selfish, egotistical, narcissistic man. See, that shows you we had mental illness among our own people. He has narcissism, which is a mental disorder. And it backfired horribly in the Wounded Knee Massacre. So when this guy was telling me about his dream, he thinks the ghost dance was a Lakota religion, for one thing, and he also thinks that this was a good thing. And he doesn't realize that it's not a good thing. And the person who told me this is white. That's like a black man saying, yeah, I dreamt I was in the Ku Klux Klan. Do you see what I mean? It's not a good dream. Now the other part is the soul. A soul does not have a shape. Lakota Star Knowledge says that a soul is an energy that does not have a shape, because there's a reincarnation concept happening here. And so it's just an energy that keeps coming back to develop until it's complete. Then another thing happens after that, in another whole completely different situation. But it says the soul keeps coming back. And so we live here. The soul has no memory. The development in the soul, that development can be used to recreate the memory, but the memory itself is not there. But it can be recreated. Because remember, this soul has been coming to the earth thousands of times. So it's going to have lots of information. It says that it's not important what race you're born into or what language you speak. What's important is how you live your life. With whatever circumstances you're born into, what matters the most is how you live your life. Because some people are born into circumstances where, when they're a girl, you're basically doomed. Your life is basically doomed. But you have to do the best you can, no matter what. And that is very difficult in those kind of societies. As long as you do that, you will develop. Your soul will develop. Then when you die, one part returns to the earth. That's the earth piece. You go to a star constellation, and a part stays there that allows you to enter this part of the universe. Then those two pieces go to a certain place where they find out if they match or not. If they do not match, then the person has to come back again and get that third universe piece and get ready for the next child to be born. When the woman is pregnant, the earth gives a soul piece to the baby in the womb. So there is a piece there. Yeah, and at the star constellation where the soul's waiting to come to the earth, there's three pieces there. The soul's piece, that universe piece, and the sacred piece. The baby's born, the soul comes into that, joins that fourth piece. There's four pieces to the soul again. So it doesn't matter which culture you're born into. What matters is how you live your life. No culture is more special than any other. That's what Lakota Star Knowledge teaches. So this idea of seeing these people who died, again, that is the thoughts on that massacre manifesting as people. It's not the actual people, because their souls are always traveling. So that's why I said with some people's dreams, it's really ideas manifesting as people. and nothing more. In dreams, sometimes actually, what you're seeing is just a manifestation of your thoughts, your opinions on certain things. And so it's going to appear accordingly. And I just explained to you an example here where a person dreamed of meeting, supposed to be souls of dead people who were killed in a Wounded Knee massacre, and also white pioneers that were killed by Indians, and that God came to this person in this dream and said that this person had something to do with the ghost dance religion. And that one of these Indian kids asked this guy, "So how did you die?" That's just a dream. It's nothing more. It doesn't mean anything special other than that those things that this people that the person saw in the dream were only manifestation of that person's thoughts. Now, a lot of times people will say, "I never dreamt of anything. I mean, I don't know anything about that at all, and I just got this dream, and this person said something like Waka Tanaka, and I just have a feeling that that's supposed to be a sacred thing, and what does that mean?" And 99% of the time, that person is telling me a lie, because see, dreams are usually showing us things that are already in our minds. So when somebody says, "Yeah, I never thought of this before," chances are they probably did. They're just lying. They either forgot or they're lying, but the chance is greater that they're lying. They want somebody to validate them and to say, "Oh, this means you're supposed to be a shaman." See? They want a native person to validate them. The whole idea to want to become something like that, this is dualistic because it's putting them above other people. And that's not our way. So that is a violation. So the whole thing reeks of duality. So, like I said, to go through it one more time, the person said God came to them. Gee, out of the 7.5 billion people that live on this planet, God came to that one person at that time. Wow. See the problem I have there? So he wasn't with the Pope during that one time, huh? He was just with you. Or whoever. For one thing, religion is a byproduct of duality. So all concepts coming from there are not true. They're all false. They're all based on duality, which includes the idea of God. Again, see, this is showing you that this is all man-made. The story behind the Wounded Knee Massacre and the ghost dance religion, that massacre could have been avoided if the few Lakota people who followed it, if they had not followed that religion, they would have lived. So it's not a good thing. And that the man who created that religion was a very selfish man. He deceived his own people as well as other Indians, and wanted to be a messiah. He wanted to be seen as the savior. And he's a narcissist, which is a mental disorder. So that is in itself not a good thing. And the idea of the soul, as I said earlier, I explained what that was. When a woman gets pregnant, the earth gives a piece of her soul to that child, the unborn child. Now, as this baby develops, it develops the physical body, and then the brain, and then the brain is starting to develop its personality already inside the womb. That's created by the brain. To show you that the brain creates personality, it's not the soul, okay? To show you that is that sometimes people get into accidents or something happens where they get a head injury, really severe, and they go into a coma. And when they come out, they're totally different. They have a different personality. They have no memories because the brain rewired itself during that injury. So it doesn't remember anything. It's all brand new. It's a new person. and it's a total different personality. I know somebody like this personally that this happened to, and I think there's even a movie about things like this with this Harrison Ford. I think it's called Regarding Henry. It's very similar. This proves to you that the personality is not the soul. So when a person dies, and if you were to talk to that soul, if there was a way, it's not going to be like that person was, because that personality stays with the body. The emotions also stay with the body, because that's part of the experience of being human. And the voice needs a voice box. It needs something to make a sound. So a soul cannot make a sound. So this is what that's like. So this whole idea of soul development is all about how you live your life. It's not about being better than anybody. It's just about how you live your life. So the mother is pregnant now. So they have a baby inside of her. The baby is forming a body. It's forming a personality. Emotions are already there. And there's a soul piece there from the earth. So it has 4 parts of the soul already. Okay? It's one soul piece, but it's still a soul piece. Okay? It still counts as a soul. Alright. So, now, up in the certain star constellation, where there's a soul waiting, and that soul has 3 parts. Its own part, and there's a sacred part, and the third part is the part that allows it to be in this part of the universe, or this galaxy, you could say. So we'll call it a galaxy piece. When the baby in the mother is born, and it takes its first breath on its own, the 3 pieces in that star constellation comes down and goes inside that baby, and now that baby has 4 soul pieces again. This is why in our culture it's encouraged, as soon as a woman knows she's pregnant, to start talking to her unborn child, to start singing to it, telling this child about the family it's coming to, so the family will come, they'll talk to it, they'll sing to it, and then children will talk to it too, and see it's forming emotional development already. And so this is all encouraged, so that when the child is born, it's already familiar with voices and things like that. See what I mean? That's because of the physical body. So next is how the person lives its life. That's the important thing. And then when it's time for this person to die, then everything goes in reverse. The piece that came from the earth returns to the earth, that soul piece. But the emotions stay with the body, and the personality stays with the body. And the soul is an energy. Okay, and now it has those 3 pieces again. Now it goes back up to that star constellation. And then there it leaves off that galaxy piece, and now it just has 2 pieces in it. Inside that constellation there's a passageway where it goes to a certain location to find out if those 2 pieces are at the same level. If they're not, then it comes back. It gets that galaxy piece again, that's 3rd piece, yeah? Then it waits for the next baby to be born. See, this keeps happening over and over till those 2 pieces match each other. Once they match each other, that's another situation. We don't need to be concerned about that at this time. I know what happens, my students know what happens, but what's most important is how we live our lives. It doesn't matter if you're an Indian or whatever, it's how you live your life. And I gave you several examples here of Indians deceiving each other. So it's not about being an Indian. And being an Indian doesn't make you any more special than anybody else. I think this guy that told me this dream, he really wants to be an Indian. So there's a low self-esteem factor there, which is another byproduct of duality. So, like I said, when we're talking about dreams, if you think you see things historical, then you need to do your research and find out what happened to verify things. It's obvious that this guy didn't do any research at all. He doesn't realize that Wovoka was a trickster, and he was not a good man. That the ghost dance religion is not a Lakota religion. This was a false religion. And then he doesn't realize that in Lakota Star knowledge, there is no God. There is no heaven. There is no hell. There's no Satan. All that is man-made. And dualistic people who believe that give those things power, those illusions. And so they think they see these things, but they don't. They're only manifesting their opinions, nothing more. And that's a hallucination. So what do I say to somebody like that? I'm very diplomatic, unless they're listening to this show. Then they know the truth. It's all nonsense. But because you got to look at the historical factors. That really plays a big role. Like I said, the ghost dance religion, for one thing, it's not Lakota. It's a false religion. It's a cult. It was created by somebody who deceived a lot of people. And they used peyote, which is a hallucinogen. And everything is telling me that this is false. And it's a racist ceremony because it says all the white people will go away. That is racist because there's good among white people too, just like there's bad among Indian people. There's good and bad, every skin color and every gender. It doesn't matter what color you are, what your gender is. What matters is how you live your life. Most important thing. So that's what I have to say about that. Anyway, but sometimes we have dreams too where we have difficulties with people. Like say for example, let's say you know somebody very close, and that at one time things were good, but as time went on, people change and things got really bad between you and the other person. And the other person, maybe they did something to try to hurt you. And it's hard to forgive that because that person now hates you with the passion. And so you're like, damn, geez, this is so sad that it turned out this way. And then that person dies. They're no longer here, and they died hating you. And you have no clue why. What happened? Or say you have a relative and sometimes things are good, sometimes things are bad, and then you're going away for a while, but you don't know how long you're going away. Maybe you have work in another part of the country or something, and it's far away. That you can't just drive back and forth, that you actually have to fly. So you're moving out, and then you say to that friend or relative, and you say, because they seem to be not in a good mood, so you say to them, "Can I hug you?" And they say no. So you say, "Okay." So you walk out the door, and you get in the car to go to the airport. Then as you're boarding your plane, you think, gee, wouldn't that be funny if that was the last time I saw that person? So you get to your new home, and you're there for a few months, and then you get the news. The person died. For whatever reason, the person died. And you're like, wow. Because if you had forced your hug on that person, that they might have hit you. So that's why you ask them, "Can I hug you?" And they say no, and then you never see them again. And you love that person. That's hard. It's hard to deal with, because it's not entirely your fault. It's not even your fault. That was their choice to reject you. So it's sad on you, but they're the one who caused it, not you. You didn't do anything wrong. But it's hard to live with that sometimes. Yeah, I know that. So, okay, from all these situations that I just explained to you, now let's say you have a dream. Let's go backwards from these situations. Begin with the one It's the person who didn't want you to hug them. In the dream, you're all back together. Everything is just like normal. You're happy to see them, and they seem to be happy to see you too. And in the dream, something is about to fall on that person, so you go over there right away and you block it. You push it away and you save that person. And everything is really nice. And what is that? That's just a representation that your love for that person is strong, no matter what. Even if they didn't want you to hug them in the end, maybe they were sick and you didn't know it. It's not a message from them. It's your thoughts manifesting. So it shows you that you love that person, no matter what. Unconditional love. Now let's go to this other person, this other situation where you have a friend and the person just changes and they even try to hurt you, physically hurt you, and you don't know why. And then that person dies. Okay, now in that situation, let's say you have a dream and both of you are together. In fact, you're traveling together in this dream. Everything is nice and you're traveling by whatever in dreams, and you come into a situation in the dream where the person says, "Hey, is it okay if I do that?" You say, "Go ahead. It looks kind of scary, so don't be scared. Maybe it's a roller coaster ride or something. It's whatever. Yeah, that person wants to do that." So you say, "Yeah, no problem. So go ahead and be waiting right here for you." So he says, "Okay." So you go off, and he goes off, or she goes off and does the whatever, and then they come back, and you're all happy for them because they're happy, yeah. So you're happy for them. So, how was it? "Oh, it was really fun." "Ah, cool. Happy for you." And what's that about? All these things are showing you that you're at peace with it. It's something you know, that you love that person and you're at peace with whatever, even though the parting was bad in this life, in your mind, the score is settled. It shouldn't bother you anymore. Or you shouldn't let it bother you anymore. So again, it's the manifestation of your thoughts. You want this to be. You want to be at peace with this. And the dream can help you attain that. So they didn't come back to you. No. It's your manifestation. You are wanting to come to peace with that past. Most of the time, that's what it is. It is very rare that it'd be something different. But even then, it can't be other things because that soul is gone. Maybe it's already back on the earth again. It's still developing. Do you see what I mean? Look at that story that I told you about, this journey of the soul. You never know. What's most important here is trying to get a realistic grip on things and then just living your life in a healthy way. That's the most important thing. Because sometimes these kind of dreams that are like this, these coming to peace, sometimes it's you have done that for a long time. And sometimes this dream may just show you you're done with it now. You're at peace with it. It does no more emotional attachment anymore. So you can keep it for its value. This is not something you have to worry about. There can be many other explanations like that, but the number one thing is it's not the person. But every now and then, something could happen in which our soul will show us a memory that is not from this time. Now that can be interesting, yeah. Lots of things can be possible. Sometimes, we've always heard of people say that they had a dream about the dead relative, that came, visited with them, and they talked about this and talked about that, and I've never had dreams like that, ever. Yeah. When I dream about a dead person, it's like they're not even dead, and I don't even realize that either. I mean, it's like we're just doing things, yeah, whatever, We're driving someplace, or just for me, it's like we're just there, and this is happening, and that's happening, and for me, that's a manifestation of my thoughts. It's been very rare where somebody is looking for me in a dream. That's an interesting one. And that can be interpreted different ways. It all depends on what's happening in the dream. It's going to depend on what the interpretation is. And some people say, "Well, I dreamt of a wolf. What does that mean?" I could say, "Well, I dreamt of a carpet, so that must mean something." It means I'm a doormat. People walk all over me. And they bang me against the wall every now and then. You see what I mean? It's what's happening. That really is what determines a lot of things, is what's going on. And when you think it's historical, check out the facts. Because a lot of times we have our own opinions. We may not even have the facts, but maybe we've seen movies. Because there's movies, for those people who are into Lakota things, there was a movie that was out a few years ago called Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee, which is loosely based on the book with the same title. And so in there you see the Wounded Knee Massacre. There was some other movies that are really incorrect, but they have the Wounded Knee Massacre in the background or as part of the story. So then they have this idea in their head. There's a really no good movie called Thunderheart, in which the guy is supposed to be reincarnated, that he was at the Wounded Knee Massacre, and this happened to him, and now he's back. He's a half Indian, half white guy, and he's back again. He's an FBI cop investigating murders on the Pine Ridge Reservation. Oh man, that's not the way Lakota Star Knowledge works. That's fantasy there. So I'm half wondering if this guy who told me this dream, if he just watched that movie Thunderheart and now is trying to fashion a similar story out of this thing. Well, here's what Lakota Star Knowledge has to say about that. I just told you the journey of the soul about a half hour ago. Lakota Star Knowledge says that the most important moment is now, because this influences the future. So how we are at this point, at this moment, is going to influence our future. Okay? So if we're still, not at peace with the past, that's going to influence the future too, in an unhealthy way. So then we have to come to peace with our difficulties from our past. So this way we don't have any emotional attachment to them, and plus you gain wisdom and knowledge when you do that. And those are blessings. So it doesn't bother you anymore. You completed it. You finished it. Okay? So that helps you to stay more in the present. That way you influence your future more so in a very healthy way. And this is saying one thing. The most important life is the one you're living right now. Because you're here. You're not in 1890. You're not there. That's done. That's over. You're here. This is where you can do something about anything. That means this is the most important moment. This is the most important lifetime right now. That after you die, and if you come back again, then that will be your next most important lifetime. You see how that works? That's why it says it doesn't matter, if you're an Indian or a white person or a green person or whatever. It doesn't matter. What matters is how you live your life. It doesn't matter what language you speak. And what really got me concerning this dream that this guy told me was everybody was talking English. The kids from this Wounded Knee Massacre were talking English to him. God was talking English to him. Most of the Lakota people back then could not speak English. Most of them could not speak English. To me, this is a guy that wants to be like Thunderheart. That whole concept is false. It's not based on Lakota Star knowledge at all. It's not even based on natural law. It's based on pure fantasy. And by the way, the movie Thunderheart is not written by a Lakota person. It is written by a non-Indian person who has no idea of what Lakota Star knowledge is. Just so you know that. Alright? And again, the ghost dance religion is a false religion. And in that movie, you see that too, yeah? Where this FBI agent sees these things, or he has these moments where he's, back in time and sees the ghost dance. And you have to realize that that is a racist religion. It's a false religion. And when you know that, then you can see that the movie Thunderheart is full of shit. Yeah, it's just full of shit movie.